When I was in college, I'd like to think that I was quite the prankster. And so there's this one prank in particular that stands out to me above all else. And it wasn't necessarily some instance when I pranked someone, it was when I was actually being pranked. And so it was a sunny spring afternoon here in Blacksburg, and it was during our final exam week. And so I had a little bit of extra time that morning to get ready, and so I took the opportunity and I made sure that my hair was perfectly curled, and I did all these little extra things. And so I go out to my car just like any other morning. I had backed into my parking spot, which isn't unusual for me. And as I get into my car, I notice that there's some football players down further below our apartment, and they're just hanging out throwing the football around. And that's not an uncommon sight. They used to live below us, but it made me really excited because here at Virginia Tech, we like to think that our football players are a pretty big deal. So I'm like waving to them as I get in my car, and I get in my car and I drive down the hill of my apartment complex. And I notice that as I get right at the football players, they're like turning their attention towards me and staring at me, and I'm not really understanding what's going on. So I'm like, whatever, and I look in the rearview mirror and I'm like, well, I did take some extra time to get ready today. Maybe I'm looking extra hot or something like that. So I pull out of my apartment complex and I get to a stop sign where I'm getting ready to pull in the main road, and I see my friend Zach, and he's waving me on as if to say, come on, you can get out in front of me. So I get in front of him, and I'm starting to drive on, and I notice that he's staying a good ways behind me. But in our circle of friends, Zach isn't necessarily known to be the best of drivers. And so at first I'm just kind of like, whatever, this is fine. Well, I notice as we continue to drive down this road, he's still a ways behind me, and there are no cars cutting him off or getting in behind me, and I've passed numerous other places where someone might want to turn in. So I finally get to a stopping point, and I get to this stoplight, and as I stop, the guy next to me rolls down the window and he says, ma'am, did you know that there was a small dead animal attached to your car? And I'm like, actually I didn't know that, and thank you. So at the first opportunity I see, I turn into this empty parking lot, get out of my car, and sure enough, I see a dead animal tied to one end of the rope, and the other end of the rope is my muffler. So I have drug a dead animal at least a mile down the road, unknowing, followed by my friend Zach. So I get out of the car, Zach pulls into this empty parking lot with me, and I'm just infuriated. Like, I am so angry, I am screaming at him, and he is laughing hysterically because, come to find out, he was the one that he took part in this whole instance of, going out the night before and finding roadkill and tying it to my car. And so I am just beyond words angry. Like, I don't even know, I couldn't even tell you what I was saying to him. And I'm pointing at the dead animal and I'm like, get it off my car now. And I'm standing on the other side over top of this giant sewer trying not to throw up, like I'm dry heaving in. It's just this horrible experience. And finally, he gets the dead animal free and he throws it in this dumpster and we leave. And like I said, I couldn't even tell you where I was going because I was so angry at him. And when I had a few weeks for that initial kind of anger just to calm down, I started to think about the whole situation from the moment I walked out of my apartment to the moment when this scene I described where I'm screaming at Zach to get this animal off my car, and I didn't like what I saw. Because every part of my attitude that day had something to do with me. It was me who made myself look good, and that's why the football players paid attention to me. And when I stopped at the stoplight, that guy wanted me to roll down the window because I was so hot and I was so pretty, and it was just such a good day for me. And, never in my mind would I believe that someone would prank me because I had been pranking all year and no one was going to surpass my pranking superiority. And you know how sometimes they say that in the middle of a crisis is when we start to see our true colors or when we start to see who we really are? Well, this was one of those instances, and it might not necessarily be described as a crisis, but I got to see some things in my own character that I didn't like. I was being so vain, I was being so selfish, and I carried this superiority complex everywhere I went, that I was better than everybody else. And so, in the end, I was really glad for that opportunity to be able to look into and examine my own character and make some changes.